wanted to speak with you about some observations that I made over a almost 5-year period from when my partner was diagnosed with a terminal illness until she passed in 2023. Now, you might say, well, why am I doing this? Well, there was some faults, if you like, or missing links in the system. This is according to me, though, so you need to take this into consideration. This is a personal perspective. And I had such a response last week to my voluntary assisted dying perspective, if you like. And I want to reiterate again, it was in the context of the choices made by people that were diagnosed with the terminal illness. I want to make that absolutely clear, because maybe it wasn't clear in the video, but that's exactly the context at which I decided to make that video. And it's with all that in mind, I wanted to have a chat today about our health system. Once again, it's my personal views. I'm a layperson. I am not qualified, apart from the fact that I'm a very qualified observer. And I have to say, my observation of the health system and some of its care providers left a lot to be desired. I'm going to preface this very strongly here. The biggest exception to this was our general practitioner, who went above and beyond at every opportunity that she could, took the time to listen, took the time to be very supportive. Now, that was a challenge for her. Imagine this, a medically qualified doctor listening to two women talking about alternative therapies regarding a terminal illness. Imagine that. Goes against everything. But you know what? She came up trumps every time. So I'm going to say that first up. Now, this is merely observations. I found that the medical system, from seeking, firstly, a surgical perspective, it was like a well-oiled machine. And at times in that process, my partner, and to some extent me, felt bullied through the process. At one point, the cancer nurse almost ran down the corridor of the hospital to tell us that natural therapies would never work. I've never seen it work before, she said. It's not going to work now. I found that grossly inappropriate. It was bullying. I didn't like it, nor did my partner. And I don't believe that we need to be in a situation like that at our most vulnerablest time in our life. Now, let's go back a little bit. Some cancers, when detected, there is time constraints. This needs to be looked at by a surgeon within, I think, a 30-day period from what I recall. You're welcome to do your own research. What happens is then everyone gets into this pressure cooker situation. We've got to go there, we've got to listen to this one, that one, that one, that one. And what I witnessed was quite a few people sitting in waiting rooms on their own without a support person, a friend, someone that was just there to be their witness. Now, I say that, be their witness, because I don't know about you, but when I've ever felt traumatized, I don't always remember what people say to me. So you can imagine a person has been waiting for results after having various challenges, should we say, symptoms. And then they're told, you have cancer or you have a whole number of things. Cancer obviously is a big one. Well, what happens? You go into a bit of a blur, you get frozen, you're just staring into space. As I call it, we get the oh my God, what's going to happen? Oh my, it goes on and on and on. Now, when you're doing that, you're having this like automatic reaction, you're not actually listening what's coming next. So what I was watching was when we went to places to get opinions, that there was things that I heard that my partner never heard. And I guess the other way around too. But I think it's really worthwhile considering that if this happens to you, if it certainly happens to me, I'll make sure I have a witness. I will make sure. I was just listening to the tone of my voice then, how it changed. I would definitely make sure I had an advocate on hand, because I think you need it. Because my observation, and I'm going to make a big generalization here, from accident and emergency to private, what should we call them? Oncologists, professionals, they all seem to be under the pump. They're all squeezing people in. And I, for one, felt squeezed in, and I know my partner did, on numerous occasions, under the pump. Not enough staff. Everyone's running ragged, and way back, long time ago, I had 20 years as a nurse. And I could sit here and say, oh, it's changed a lot. Okay. Yes, for me, that's true, but things are very different. So it's not for me to say that they're different back then to now. We are left with now. For example, at one point, my partner was transported to a local hospital via ambulance in a semi-conscious state. And when we arrived at the hospital, I noticed there was quite a few ambulances at the ambulance bay. And what I observed was this. I was standing next to the trolley where my partner was, and I turned around because there was a great line of trolleys. And I noticed that there was at least 3 people behind me on trolleys on their own. And I was like, wow, that's just, how sad is that? How scary is that? No, some of them were elderly people, but they weren't all elderly people. I couldn't imagine anything worse, not knowing what's going to happen. What are these people going to make me do? Because that's my observation, is that they try and make you do it their way. I didn't like that. I had to exert quite a bit of pressure at one point when I took my semi-conscious partner to emergency, because I felt like she was going to die and she needed more support, be that with just physical support or with medication, which at that time I actually wasn't able to give, because you're very restricted in your home. And at that time, I didn't have a hospital bed. I didn't have all the little extras that were very beneficial, and I'm grateful for them. So here we are. We're in emergency. We're lined up. We're in a queue. We're waiting. The ambulance personnel, they came up trumps as well. When we arrived, they asked me, did I want a cup of tea? Would I like a sandwich? By then, I couldn't remember when I last had something to eat. I was just stressed. I was an overload, overwhelmed. And my partner was not in a position really to sit up and have a cup of tea. So I found the ambulance service, in this case it was Queensland and Australia Ambulance Service, to be warm, kind. They seem to have all the time in the world. Isn't that interesting? But when we got in that hospital system, them having all the time in the world compared to the pressurized pressure cooker that we arrived in was, the contrast was so stark, I couldn't believe it. And we finally get into emergency and the assessment takes place, which I found very interesting. This is someone who couldn't walk, beg your pardon, wasn't mobile. They did every test cognitively, lift this hand, do this touch, push, etc. Proceeded to go away. When they came back, said that they'd be sending her home this evening. I'm like, no, you're not. And then the fight began. I became this really strong advocate for patients' rights. And I was like, this is wrong. I got embroiled, if you like. I became deeply passionate. I realized the fragility of the moment, how terribly vulnerable she was. I did say to the doctor, have you thought of getting her out of bed so you can actually see what's going on, so you can make a more informed judgment, decision, whatever you like, under the pump? Not enough time. Meanwhile, the hours are ticking by. Now, I'm sure everyone here knows what a Panadol is. So I had a bag full of medication. They decided to give my partner some Panadol. Well, that was interesting. 45 minutes later, I said, could you please tell me where the Panadols are? What? Oh, I've lost my keys. I can't get them. I said, that's all right. I've got some in this bag. I'm going to take them out now. I'm going to give them to him. No, you can't do that. So you see what I mean, that they're under so much pressure. But I didn't care much for that answer. I've lost my keys. I can't get in. It didn't wash well. But then I looked around and once again, I saw people in here in this situation, vulnerable, frail, some of them staring into space, thinking, what on earth's going on here? Seemingly being pushed around because people in the medical profession are under so much pressure. Now, if you're listening to this, you want to come down hard on me, yes, you can, that's fine. I can take that. But go and have the experience like I have. You judge for yourself. Now, this is not a personal attack on the medical stuff. It's a system. It's the system pushing the players around like places on a chessboard. It's simply not good enough. I took up that fight that day with so much passion and deep commitment that I didn't let it go until my partner passed. And you know what? I felt like I had to be that strong person, persistent, annoying to some, because I wanted more, I demanded more. Now, had I capitulated to them sending her home that night, would have been a disaster. I wouldn't have had the support that I needed. And more's the point, she wouldn't have had the support she needed either. It's simply wrong. So I had to fight hard, you know, several hours in, we're 6, 7 hours in now, and I'm fired up. I'm not going to let this go, like a dog with a bone. Finally, she wants to go to the bathroom. There's one person there that's going to help her. I say, you'll need 2 people. No, it'll be all right. Of course, it wasn't all right. The pain was accelerated. It was just awful. I happened to see the doctor who told me he was going to send her home just over there. So I went to see him and I said, do you mind coming over here and watch and listen? He looked at me like, you know, the look on his face said it all. She was not able to stand. She certainly wasn't able to pivot round and sit on the chair they had, amidst the screaming of the pain, which was heartbreaking. In that moment, everything changed. I had manifested this horrible sight, this frail, fragile, vulnerable woman being pushed around. It's not right. It shouldn't be like that. So from this, I'm making these videos. I want people to stand up and be counted. And you know what? Making a decision and having an opinion, when you have an opinion rather than sitting on the fence, it gives you an opportunity to think about how you feel about that opinion. Notice I'm saying think about and how you feel about. Incidentally, those are two different things. One is way more analytical, one is way more emotional. So this is my invitation to you. If you're in this situation, start to speak up. Be a strong advocate for those that you love. Now, there's going to be more videos coming out. This I've described today, beg your pardon, one situation. There's many more. And was there some good things along the way? Of course there was. But you know, I think where we're not looking after each other, that's things to highlight. So we take the opportunity to grow and be able to serve people more. Every day I notice I need to be doing more, to serve more, to understand not only myself, but other people. Please subscribe if you want to chat with me. There's a link there. Click on it, book a call. I'm happy to speak to anyone. But I'm challenging you today to think about your choices. Would you willingly advocate for someone you love? Or would you just be happy to be steamrolled, bullied into decisions that you certainly didn't start off wanting? Suddenly, because it's a well-oiled machine and everyone's under such a lot of pressure, you find yourself capitulating and nodding yes. Inside you're saying, no, I don't want that to happen. So I encourage you, after this, sit in silence. Make a decision now. Stand up for yourself and for those that you love. This is Mary Scott. Do subscribe. Do give me some comments. I love comments. And thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.